Jin-Ho anxiously waiting for Jin-Woo at their usual cafe. His mind races as he contemplates the significance of the impending conversation. Jin-Ho knows that Jin-Woo's decision will greatly impact his future and possibly his aspirations within the Yujin Guild. He sits there, reminding himself of the reasons behind his actions, trying to muster the courage for the critical discussion. As the door to the cafe opens, Jin-Woo walks in, his clothes slightly ripped and torn. It's evident he has come straight from a dungeon. Jin-Ho's eyes widen in admiration and concern as he sees Jin-Woo in this state. He can't help but think about how incredible Jin-Woo is for continually pushing himself to train in dungeons despite already being so powerful. Jin-Ho seizes the moment to explain everything to Jin-Woo. He begins by detailing his negotiations with his father, hoping to gain his support for becoming the master of the Yujin Guild. However, during these negotiations, Go Myung-hwan appeared and shared the harrowing details of what transpired inside the Red Gate. He told Jin-Ho's father about how Jin-Woo bravely rescued the White Tiger Guild hunters, painting a vivid picture of Jin-Woo's heroism and capability. Jin-Ho admits that to achieve his goal of leading the Yujin Guild, he desperately needs Jin-Woo's help. In a bid to convince him, Jin-Ho offers Jin-Woo complete decision-making power within the guild, emphasizing that Jin-Woo should not feel pressured or obligated. Jin-Woo's response hung heavy in the air as Jin-Ho waited for his answer. The room seemed to grow still, the weight of the unspoken words pressing down on them both. Jin-Ho's eyes, wide with anticipation, flickered with a mix of hope and apprehension. The scene shifts to the Hunters Guild. Inside the guild, Choi Jong-in is in shock upon learning that Sung Ji-Noo had joined one of their recent raids. He finds it hard to believe that Ji-Noo was on the mining team one day and carrying the strike squad's bags the next. Mr. Sun, an employee of the Hunters Guild, explains that while Ji-Noo had no intention of interfering with their raid, the situation escalated when they encountered an unexpectedly strong boss. Ji-Noo saw no choice but to step in and assist. Choi Jong-in reflects on the implications of Jin-Woo's actions. He realizes that both the White Tiger Guild and the Hunters Guild are now indebted to Jin-Woo. He is amazed by the abilities Jin-Woo has revealed so far, such as summoning multiple beasts, possessing agility akin to an assassin-type hunter, and the power to turn deceased beasts into his soldiers. Choi Jong-in wonders if Jin-Woo has even more hidden abilities. He questions Mr. Sun about Jin-Woo's strength compared to his own. Mr. Sun acknowledges that while each member of a raid team has specific roles that complement each other, Jin-Woo stands out as extraordinary. He points out that Jin-Woo is capable of clearing an A-rank dungeon by himself, a feat even Choi Jong-in admits he cannot achieve alone. Mr. Sun strongly advises Choi Jong-in to recruit Jin-Woo at all costs, recognizing the immense potential and value Jin-Woo would bring to their guild. Meanwhile, outside the Hunters Association building, where a crowd of reporters eagerly awaits Lee Min-sung. Min-sung is there for his rank evaluation, and he is relishing the publicity. He observes the large turnout and imagines tomorrow's newspaper headlines glorifying his rise to superhuman status. However, the reporters' excitement shifts when Baek-in-ho and Choi Jong-in arrive at the scene. The reporters initially assume that the two guild masters are there to recruit Min-sung. Baek-in-ho quickly dispels this notion, expressing frustration with the reporters and clarifying that he is not there for Min-sung. Choi Jong-in further explains that Min-sung has already signed with the Fiend Guild, a fact well known among industry insiders. Baek-in-ho and Choi Jong-in then turn their attention to discussing their recent reliance on Sung Ji-Noo's assistance. Baek-in-ho mentions the casualties their guild suffered and their need to bolster their forces with someone as powerful as Ji-Noo. Choi Jong-in argues about the ethical responsibility they have to recruit Ji-Noo after he saved their team. Their conversation is interrupted by Lim Tae-gyu, the master of the Fiend Guild, who jokes about the two guild masters bickering over Min-sung. Both Baek-in-ho and Choi Jong-in express their frustration, clarifying that their focus is not on Min-sung but on more pressing matters. Meanwhile, Min-sung, sitting in his car and observing from a distance, is pleased with the attention he is receiving. He feels like a star, surrounded by reporters eager to capture his every move. As he steps out of the car, the reporters clamor to take his photos, making him the center of attention. Amidst the commotion, Ji-Noo stands far behind the reporters, utterly confused by the large crowd and the spectacle unfolding before him. Ji-Noo, confused by the throng of reporters outside the Hunters Association building, realized the media frenzy wasn't wasn't for him. He approached the entrance, needing to get inside for his appointment. Ignoring the flashing cameras and shouts for attention, he attempted to enter. A secretary of Lee Min-sung, noticing Jin-Woo trying to pass through, challenges him, questioning his identity and affiliation with the association. Jin-Woo explains that he has an appointment, but the secretary insists that the entrance is currently blocked off, instructing him to leave. Min-sung, observing from a distance, derides Jin-Woo, hoping security will eject him. Suddenly, the situation took an unexpected turn. Go Gun-hee, the esteemed chairman of the Hunters Association, arrived. Go Gun-hee declares that Jin-Woo is his guest and reminds Min-sung of who allowed him to hold a press conference there. Min-sung, taken aback, acknowledges Go Gun-hee's authority. The chairman then escorts Jin-Woo inside the building, leaving Min-sung and the reporters bewildered. As Go Gun-hee escorted Jin-Woo inside, reporters were puzzled and curious about Jin-Woo's identity, wondering why the chairman was personally walking him into the building. Feeling overshadowed by this unexpected guest, Min-sung demanded to know who Jin-Woo was and how he dared to steal his attention. Determined to reclaim the spotlight, Min-sung announced he would begin his evaluation early. However, his attempt to bypass the queue backfired spectacularly. When he was about to enter, Jim-chul, the stoic and powerful hunter himself, denied him entry. Apparently, another hunter's evaluation was already in progress, and no one was allowed in until it was finished. Min-sung, outraged by the wait and convinced it was because of Jin-Woo, launched into a tirade. He argued his importance as a celebrity, even threatening Jim-chul with his connections and sponsorship from Eugene Guild, where his father was a vice president. Unfazed by Min-sung's arrogance, Jim-chul remained firm. The evaluation process had to be followed, and Min-sung would have to wait his turn, no matter his perceived fame or fortune. Jim-chul warned him of severe consequences if he tries to enter forcefully. Inside, Go Gun-hee walked alongside Jin-Woo, who was greeted by Baek-in-ho and Choi Jong-in, both bowing respectfully to the chairman. Gun-hee mentioned that the two had been eagerly waiting for Jin-Woo, especially after witnessing his strength, and were likely hoping to recruit him into their guild. The evaluation began. When questioned about his abilities, Jin-Woo, ever practical, simply summoned a shadow soldier. The manifestation of dark energy coalescing into a fearsome warrior left Go Gun-hee and the association employee speechless. Go Gun-hee, sensing Jin-Woo possessed even more, pressed further. Hesitantly admitting many had already seen him in action, Jin-Woo proceeded to unleash his full arsenal. Shadow soldiers materialized one by one: the imposing Igris, the hulking Iron, the chilling Ice Bear, and the ferocious Tusk. The room erupted in awe. Everyone present, including Go Gun-hee, was stunned by the sheer number and variety of powerful creatures Jin-Woo could summon. To further solidify his extraordinary power, Jin-Woo revealed his capability to summon 100 more shadow soldiers, a number that sent shivers down everyone's spines. This undeniable display left no room for doubt. Jin-Woo was a force to be reckoned with. Finally, the moment Jin-Woo had been striving for arrived. He received his official S-rank hunter license, a symbol of his immense power and hard-earned achievement. Baek-in-ho, witnessing Jin-Woo's power, is overwhelmed, acknowledging the stark difference in Jin-Woo's strength since their last encounter. He attempts to engage Jin-Woo further, but Jin-Woo, eager to leave, excuses himself, mentioning unfinished business. Baek warns Jin-Woo about exiting through the front, hinting at potential regret. Jin-Woo thought that they are about to make a lucrative offer. Ignoring the warning, Jin-Woo exited the building, ready to face whatever challenges awaited him, but he was met with a completely unexpected situation. A swarm of reporters, alerted by the news of a new S-rank hunter, ambushed him. Cameras flashed, questions buzzed, and Jin-Woo, utterly shocked by the sudden media attention, realized the secret of his identity and newfound power was already out. The unassuming hunter had become a national sensation, the 10th strongest hunter in all of Korea. 10 minutes earlier, Lee Min-sung was confidently addressing the press. He declared that even if he ended up with a low rank, he would still fight against magical beasts to repay his fans for their love and support. He promised to be a hunter who serves the people, regardless of his rank. The reporters were astonished and asked if he was truly retiring as Asia's biggest star to become a hunter, even if he received a low rank. Min-sung affirmed this, asking for everyone's attention and announcing his retirement. In reality, Min-sung had already been evaluated and received achieved an A rank. He planned to be paid millions over 2 years to promote the Fiend Guild, using this as a way to divert attention from his mandatory military service. Min-sung believed his story would be convincing, showing him as someone who gave up fame and fortune to protect his country. He thanked Mr. Lim Tae-gyu, the master of the Fiend Guild, for inviting him to join. As Min-sung basked in the limelight, a seismic shift occurred. News broke about the emergence of a new S-rank hunter. The media's focus abruptly shifted, leaving Min-sung bewildered. The identity of the mysterious hunter was revealed: Sung Jin-Woo. They were shocked by the revelation of South Korea's 10th S-rank hunter and quickly spread the news. The association's website had been updated, confirming Jin-Woo's new status. The reporters realized that the evaluation center had been closed, not for Min-sung, but for the S-rank hunter evaluation. Hearing the murmurs about the new S-rank hunter, Min-sung was baffled and frustrated. The reporters rushed towards the Hunter Association building entrance, demanding to be let in and learn more about the new S-rank hunter. The realization dawned on Min-sung that his carefully planned spotlight had been stolen. The S-rank hunter, a complete unknown, had eclipsed his well-constructed narrative. Min-sung watches in disbelief as the spotlight turned away from him. Meanwhile, the news of Jin-Woo's achievement spread like wildfire. From the depths of the mines to the highest echelons of society, everyone was buzzing about the extraordinary feat. It was being broadcast on every news channel. Even Jin-Woo's younger sister, Gina, was aware of her brother's newfound fame. At the Yujin Guild, Jin-ho was engaged in a conversation with his father, Myung-han. Myung-han, watching the news, learned about Jin-Woo's official status as an S-rank mage-type hunter and asked Jin-ho if he had managed to recruit him. Jin-ho apologized, explaining that Jin-Woo planned to form his own guild and had invited Jin-ho to join as the vice guild master. The revelation of Jin-Woo's plan shocks Myung-han. He begins to explain to Jin-ho the true reason behind his desire to create the Yujin Guild. Contrary to what one might think, it is not because the hunting business is profitable. Myung-han already has enough wealth to last multiple lifetimes. He questions if Jin-ho believes he would risk getting into conflicts with major guilds just to make more money. Jin-ho asks then why he wants to create the guild. Myung-han explains that it is for protection. Hunters are growing stronger by the day, and it is no longer surprising to come across hunters whose strength rivals the combined armed forces of a country. These individuals are known as national-level hunters, surpassing S ranks and considered the most powerful hunters in the world. In some smaller countries, these hunters rule like kings. Myung-han emphasizes that relying solely on the legal system and the government for protection is no longer feasible. He wants to create a guild to recruit trustworthy hunters, not for money or connections, but to find individuals he can truly trust and depend on. Myung-han acknowledges that Jin-ho seems to have already found such a hunter in Jin-Woo and gives his approval for Jin-ho to lead the Yujin Guild. However, Jin-ho shocks his father by declining the offer. He reveals that he has decided to join Jin-Woo's guild instead. Outside the Hunter Association building, Jin-Woo was puzzled by the crowd of reporters in front of him. He wondered why they weren't focused on Lee Min-sung. The reporters bombarded him with questions about his reawakening and how he felt. Baek and Ho suggested to Jin-Woo that dealing with the reporters would be draining and offered to take him home. In a blur of motion, Jin-Woo vanished from the site, leaving everyone awestruck by his speed. They couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Choi Jong-in remarked that Jin-Woo, a mage-type hunter, also had excellent athletic abilities. Baek and Ho agreed, noting how fast Jin-Woo was, so fast that even his eyes couldn't keep up. He already knew Jin-Woo was strong, but this wasn't just about strength. The way Jin-Woo moved was extraordinary. Baek could feel the intense levels of Jin-Woo's mana when they met in front of the evaluation room. Jin-Woo had become much stronger since the last time Baek saw him. He was sure that the current Sung Jin-Woo was more powerful than they were. Choi Jong-in pondered how Jin-Woo's reawakening must have happened a while ago, wondering how he had become so much stronger. It didn't make sense to him. Baek and Ho speculated that perhaps Jin-Woo wasn't just reawakened, he might be a hunter who could keep leveling up continuously. This idea opened up the possibility that Jin-Woo's abilities were not fixed but could evolve over time, explaining his unexpected increase in power. The news of Jin-Woo's emergence as an S-rank hunter was plastered all over the television, capturing everyone's attention. It was a significant event, marking the first appearance of an S-rank hunter in 2 years. Meanwhile, Hwang Dong-soo, who had been severely injured in a battle with Sung Il-hwan, was slowly recovering in the hospital. His recovery had been long and grueling, and he had spent a considerable amount of time in his hospital bed, reflecting on the past events. When he finally woke up, his thoughts were immediately consumed with anger and disbelief. disbelief. The realization that Sung Jin-Woo was still alive filled him with rage. He could hardly stand the idea that Jin-Woo, whom he despised, had survived and was now receiving widespread attention and acclaim. Jin-Woo made his way to the Hunter's Market, a bustling place filled with traders and buyers looking for valuable artifacts. He approached a shopkeeper and presented a red crystal ball, the Orb of Avarice. The shopkeeper, a seasoned veteran in the trade, was astonished by the artifact. In his long career, he had never encountered anything like it. The crystal ball had an amplification rate of 100%, a remarkable feature considering that even the best craftsmen could only achieve a 50% rate. The shopkeeper thought that someone like Mr. Choi Jong-in would likely pay a substantial amount for such an item. When asked where he had obtained the crystal ball, Jin-Woo simply replied that he had found it in a dungeon. The shopkeeper was amazed that such powerful artifacts could be discovered lying around and offered to auction the item for Jin-Woo at a premium price. Jin-Woo, however, needed time to think about it. His thoughts were already occupied with his immediate goal of clearing the Demon's Castle and to craft the Holy Water of Life. To accomplish this, he needed protection against the intense flames within the castle. Turning his attention back to the shopkeeper, Jin-Woo inquired about purchasing an artifact that could protect him from fire. The shopkeeper was surprised by the request, but assured him that fire-resistant artifacts were quite common. Jin-Woo was puzzled, mentioning that he couldn't find any such items online. The shopkeeper explained that these artifacts were expensive and not typically sold over the internet. Despite their rarity online, they were readily available in the market because fire was the most commonly used type of magic in attacks. This explanation made sense to Jin-Woo. He recalled that both Mr. Song Chi-yeol and Choi Jong-in use fire magic, as did Tusk and his shadow mages. Realizing the prevalence of fire magic in combat, Jin-Woo understood why fire-resistant artifacts were in high demand and readily available in specialized markets like the one he was in. The shopkeeper invited Jin-Woo to follow him into a special area where high-level gear, artifacts, and armor were displayed. The space resembled a high-end showroom, with each piece of equipment meticulously placed inside glass cases. Jin-Woo surveyed the items, but something caught his attention. Curious about the security measures, Jin-Woo asked if the thin glass was strong enough to protect the valuable artifacts inside. There didn't seem to be any additional security in place. The shopkeeper explained that the glass was imbued with mana, making it strong enough to withstand a full-on attack from an A-rank hunter. Jin-Woo was skeptical and voiced his doubts. To prove his point, the shopkeeper offered Jin-Woo a challenge. If Jin-Woo could break the glass, he could take any of the artifacts inside. Jin-Woo, sensing the mana in the glass but still doubtful of its strength, prepared himself. His eyes glowed with power, and an aura surrounded him as he clenched his fist, ready to shatter the glass. As Jin-Woo was about to strike, the shopkeeper, realizing just how powerful Jin-Woo was, quickly intervened. He nervously admitted he wasn't serious about the challenge. If Jin-Woo actually broke the glass, the elite members of the Hunters Guild would come running, as the auction committee had a security agreement with them. Internally, the shopkeeper marveled at Jin-Woo's confidence. Despite claiming to be a mage-type hunter, Jin-Woo seemed certain he could break the mana-infused glass. The shopkeeper couldn't help but wonder where Jin-Woo's assurance came from. Jin-Woo asked him if there were any weapons he could try out, specifically a dagger. The shopkeeper, pleased to assist, introduced his co-worker as the weapon specialist and invited Jin-Woo to follow him. As they moved, the shopkeeper noticed a crack in the glass case protecting the artifacts. He was bewildered, wondering when it had happened since Jin-Woo hadn't even touched the glass. Sweat dripped from his face as he tried to comprehend the situation. In the weapons section, Jin-Woo pointed to a particular dagger and asked about its price. The weapons specialist informed him that it cost 30 million won. Jin-Woo thought about the dagger, noting that it was a B-rank weapon and weaker than his Night Killer, yet still quite expensive. At best, he estimated it was comparable to Kasaka's Venom Fang. Curious, Jin-Woo showed the specialist his own dagger and inquired about its value. The specialist, visibly impressed, declared that the dagger was crafted by a master and valued it at over 100 million won. Jin-Woo was taken aback by this revelation. He remembered buying the dagger from the system's shop for just 2.8 million gold. This new information made him reconsider the worth of items he had acquired. He thought about how Kim Sang-shik's steel sword, with a mere attack damage of 10, was worth 3 million, and how Jinho's armor and equipment had cost millions despite their limited use. Reflecting on this, Jin-Woo realized that if an item from the shop could fetch such a high price, there was no logical reason for him to sell the Orb of Avarice, a rare and valuable item he possessed. This newfound understanding of the market value of his equipment made him appreciate the potential worth of his collection even more. The scene shifted to the White Tiger Guild, where Baek-in-ho was still shaken by witnessing Jin-Woo's immense strength. He pondered the possibility of a hunter being able to continuously level up, something that seemed unbelievable. In his enlightened state, Baek could accurately gauge an opponent's skill level. He was certain that when he first met Sung Jin-Woo at the Red Gate, Jin-Woo had been weaker than him, but now it was clear that Jin-Woo had surpassed him by a significant margin. Baek realized how foolish it was to think that someone as powerful as Jin-Woo would join another guild when he had the capability to start his own. The strength and potential Jin-Woo possessed meant that he would always rise to the top, regardless of whether a guild was considered the best or second best in the country. Both Baek and Choi Jung-in had been wasting their time trying to recruit Jin-Woo. The realization of Jin-Woo's potential left Baek in awe and a bit regretful of their previous attempts to bring him into their ranks. Outside Jin-Woo's apartment, a media frenzy was in full swing. The news of Sung Jin-Woo's unprecedented rise from E rank to S rank had ignited a firestorm of public interest. Among the throng of reporters was Chief An, a high-ranking member of the White Tiger Guild, determined to recruit Jin-Woo at any cost. Despite the overwhelming media presence, Chief An remained steadfast in his pursuit. Inside the apartment, Jin-Woo's younger sister Gina was growing increasingly anxious about the constant media attention. The relentless clicking of cameras and the shouts of reporters had become a daily ordeal. As she peered out the window, her gaze met that of Chief An and his team. They shout, drawing the attention of the reporters who start taking pictures. Gina quickly ducks back inside, uncomfortable with the unwanted attention. Jin-Woo, sensing his sister's distress, offered to confront the reporters, but Gina stops him, mentioning the hate comments he's already receiving online for snubbing reporters. She advises him not to care about the people outside. Just as the situation seemed to be escalating, an insistent knocking at the door jolted Jin-Woo and Gina from their uneasy peace. Anger surged through Jin-Woo as he prepared to confront the intruders, only to be met with an unexpected sight. It was Jin-Ho, his face etched with despair and desperation. Expelled from his home by his father, Jin-Ho had nowhere else to turn but to Jin-Woo, seeking refuge and support. Jin-Woo, confused, points out that Jin-Ho had his own place, but Jin-Ho explains that the apartment was under his father's name. He asks if he can stay with Jin-Woo for a while. Jin-Woo initially shuts the door, telling Gina that it was no one he knew. As the door finally closed, Jin-Woo and Gina exchanged worried glances. The relentless pursuit by the media and the unexpected arrival of Jin-Ho had turned their once peaceful home into a battleground. Jin-Ho keeps banging on the door, pleading. Eventually, Jin-Woo opens the door again and later arranges for Jin-Ho to stay at a hotel. The scene shifts to Yujin Guild, where Myung-han and his wife are having a conversation about their son Jin-Ho. Myung-han's wife expresses concern, suggesting that he might have been too harsh on Jin-Ho. Myung-han, however, believes he wasn't harsh enough, feeling that Jin-Ho should have paved his own path instead of working for someone else. Suddenly, Myung-han winces and starts feeling unwell. His vision blurs and he collapses. His wife screams in agony, overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. Back at home, Jin-Woo returned to his modest apartment, his heart heavy with concern for his sister. The recent surge in his notoriety had transformed his quiet life into a media circus, and he worried about the potential dangers that could befall on Gina in his absence. His gaze fell upon his sleeping sister, a pang of guilt shooting through him. He knew he had to take drastic measures to ensure her safety. With a focused mind, he summoned 3 of his most formidable shadow soldiers, the Orc Generals. One of you should be sufficient to deter even an A-rank hunter, Jin-Woo mused, his voice carrying a hint of concern. A flicker of doubt crossed his mind as he realized one of his Orc Generals was missing. Didn't Tusk have 4 guards? Why are there only 3 of you here? I guess I wasn't able to make him into a shadow because I rammed him into the ceiling. He questioned himself, a trace of amusement coloring his tone. Deciding on a course of action, he dismissed 2 of the Orc Generals back into the shadows. Guard my sister, he commanded the remaining shadow soldier, his voice firm. I'll keep the other 2 as a backup, just in case. A sense of responsibility washed over him as he contemplated the escalating situation. Perhaps it's time to enhance the security of the entire neighborhood, he muttered, his mind already formulating a plan. Jin-Woo, with a flick of his wrist, summoned additional shadow soldiers, their forms solidifying from wisps of darkness. This expanded contingent bolstered his defensive perimeter, creating a protective web around his home and the surrounding neighborhood. He ascended to the rooftop, the city sprawling beneath him like a concrete jungle. From this vantage point, he could survey the landscape, his senses extended through his shadow soldiers. Henceforth, he announced to his silent legion, his voice imbued with quiet authority, "You shall serve as the guardians of this neighborhood. Let your patrols controls be swift and silent, unseen by the eyes of ordinary citizens. Remember the strength you possess. Even the most hardened criminals are but fleeting shadows before your might. Your presence here serves as a bulwark, a shield against the darkness that threatens to encroach upon this place. Consider this my gift to the community, a silent vow to ensure their safety. The next day, Jin-Ho drove with Jin-Woo sitting in the back seat, both of them heading towards Daesung Tower. Jin-Woo, leaning back, pondered over the events of the previous day and the current state of affairs. Despite being expelled from his home, Jin-Ho maintained a cheerful demeanor. Jin-Woo, noticing this, asked, "Did you sleep okay last night?" Jin-Ho responded affirmatively, mentioning the surprisingly good facilities at the motel where he had stayed. Jin-Woo gave a nod of approval. "Good. Stay there until I find an office space for our guild," he said. He was determined to secure a suitable place for their operations, ensuring that Jin-Ho wouldn't have to continue living out of a motel for long. As the car continued its journey, Jin-Woo reflected silently on Jin-Ho's decision to turn down the position of guild master. He hadn't expected Jin-Ho to make such a sacrifice, but Jin-Ho had done it for him. This act of loyalty left Jin-Woo unable to say anything negative about the decision. Breaking the silence, Jin-Ho inquired about their destination. "By the way, what business do you have at Daesung Tower so early in the morning?" Jin-Woo, lost in his thoughts, didn't respond immediately. Instead, he simply slid the car door open as they arrived at the tower. "I'll be back," he said, stepping out and leaving Jin-Ho in the car. Jin-Woo had tasks to handle and goals to achieve, and Daesung Tower was the next step in his plan. A notification popped up as Jin-Woo entered the Demon's Castle dungeon. He braced himself, knowing the difficulty level would increase exponentially from this point on. He had come prepared, having equipped new items to protect him from the intense flames inside the dungeon. His gear included a wind robe and a nameless ring imbued with water magic attributes. Jin-Woo felt ready for the challenge ahead. Another notification appeared, indicating he had received a new quest. Jin-Woo sighed. Again. The quest was straightforward. Collect the demon souls and defeat the Demon King, Barin, who resided on the top floor of the Demon's Castle. The requirements were clear. Defeat the Demon King. The rewards were enticing, with a top-tier runestone, Shadow Exchange, promising to grant a new job-specific skill. Jin-Woo thought about his current job-specific skills, Shadow Extraction, Shadow Preservation, and Monarch's Domain, all of which had proven to be remarkable. He looked forward to acquiring this new skill. A booming voice echoed through the air, offering Jin-Woo the choice of which floor to access. Without hesitation, with a wicked smile on his face, Jin-Woo confidently responded 76. In an instant, a red glowing energy engulfed Jin-Woo, transporting him to the 76th floor with a whoosh. He stood ready, bracing himself for the formidable challenges that awaited him. Jin-Woo finds himself amidst a scene of utter devastation. Broken buildings litter the ground, and flames lick at the sky, painting the ash-filled air with an ominous glow. Monstrous winged creatures soar overhead, casting menacing shadows on the already crumbling landscape. In the distance, a colossal demon, its body etched with arcane markings and crowned with wicked horns, surveys the destruction with glowing red eyes. Lesser demons, twisted parodies of humanity, flank the behemoth, completing the nightmarish illustration. Undeterred by the overwhelming odds, Jin-Woo summons his most powerful shadow soldier, Tusk. Since his shadow extraction, Tusk has undergone a remarkable transformation. His once monstrous form has become even more imposing, radiating an aura of chilling power. Equipped with the Orb of Avarice, a potent artifact pulsating with magical energy, further augmenting his formidable abilities, Tusk stands alone against the demonic horde, a lone warrior facing a tide of darkness. Tusk charges forward with his form imposing and aura chilling. The high-ranking demon and his army strides towards Tusk. The ground trembles and buildings crumble under its relentless advance. As the two titans close the distance between them, the very air seems to crackle with anticipation. Tusk, equipped with Orb of Avarice, channels its power. A massive fireball begins to form in his outstretched hand, its surface crackling with fierce, swirling flames. With a decisive motion, Tusk hurls the fireball into the sky. It explodes with a thunderous roar, and the sky is suddenly ablaze with torrents of fire raining down upon the demon army. The inferno spreads rapidly, turning the battlefield into a blazing furnace. The demons, caught completely off guard, scramble in a futile attempt to escape the searing heat. Fire is relentless, consuming everything in its path. A notification flashes on the screen. You have defeated a top-ranking demon. From a distance, Jin-Woo watches the aftermath of Tusk's devastating spell. The battlefield, now a charred expanse, reflects the sheer scale of destruction unleashed by Tusk. Jin-Woo's gaze is fixed on the scene. Despite the Orb of Avarice boosting Tusk's powers, Jin-Woo notes that Tusk's abilities might have been diminished since becoming one of his shadow soldiers. The orb's power is directly linked to its wielder's strength, and Jin-Woo realizes that Tusk's current effectiveness is a fraction of what it could be. With this insight, Jin-Woo decides to allow Tusk to wield the Orb of Avarice for the time being, recognizing its potential to enhance his capabilities. As Jin-Woo considers these developments, he notices a significant increase in his own stats. The experience gained from observing the battle pushes him to level 81, marking a notable boost in his overall strength and abilities. At the hospital, Myung-hun awakens, still feeling the effects of his sleep, asks how long he has been unconscious. The doctor responds that he has been asleep for 2 days. Myung-hun, feeling the weight of exhaustion, inquires if there is something wrong with his body. The doctor poses a question about whether Myung-hun has been in close contact with a hunter or someone with awakened abilities. Myung-hun is puzzled by the sudden inquiry about hunters and questions the relevance of the question. The doctor explains that he is referring to a condition known as eternal slumber. The doctor elaborates on eternal slumber, a condition where patients, once diagnosed, are unable to regain consciousness. This condition doesn't just mean being unable to wake up, it involves the rapid draining of the patient's life force. To keep such patients alive, life support devices powered by mana are required. The onset of this condition began after the appearance of gates, and has resulted in numerous fatalities among those who couldn't afford the necessary life support. Myung-hun, confused and alarmed, asks what this has to do with hunters. The doctor explains that mana, which has a deep connection with eternal slumber, can affect individuals who are naturally predisposed to mana intolerance. Prolonged exposure to essence stones, mana crystals, or individuals endowed with mana can trigger symptoms of eternal slumber in these individuals. The doctor speculates that a recent exposure to such sources might have triggered Myung-hun's condition and inquires if there is a hunter in his family. Myung-hun, grappling with the gravity of the situation, reflects on his predicament. Despite the seriousness of the diagnosis, he can't accept being a victim of natural selection. His pride and determination surface as he asserts that he has never lost before and refuses to see himself as defeated. Meanwhile, on a tranquil island off the coast of Japan, the serene environment is momentarily disrupted as a living ant successfully makes its way onto the shore. In the heart of a small town on the island, 2 hunters walk along a quiet street. Mr. Nogawa, a D-rank hunter, reflects on the peace and quiet of the town. A resident approaches them, expressing gratitude for Mr. Nogawa's efforts in keeping the neighborhood safe. Mr. Nogawa, modestly dismissing the thanks, simply replies that it's part of his duty. The resident then inquires about the newcomer accompanying Mr. Nogawa, an E-rank hunter. Mr. Nogawa introduces the E-rank hunter, advising them to make daily rounds and familiarize themselves with the townspeople. He explains the importance of their role in case of a gate appearance. He emphasizes that if a gate were to open on such a remote island, they would be in grave danger. The priority is to locate the gate as quickly as possible using the mana meter and contact hunters outside the island for assistance. Given that it would take 3 days for reinforcements to arrive, it is crucial to find the gate within that time frame to avoid a potential dungeon break that could obliterate the entire town. As Mr. Nogawa continues his instructions, a shadow suddenly emerges and approaches them. The E-rank hunter notices the shadow and alerts Mr. Nogawa. Their routine patrol was disrupted by an unexpected sight. Mr. Nogawa's attention was drawn to the anomaly. As their eyes adjusted to the dim light, they made a shocking discovery. A living ant, its form magnified to an unnatural size, stood before them. Back in the dungeon, Jin-Woo continues his relentless assault. His shadow soldiers decimate the demons one by one, leaving a trail of fallen beasts as evidence of their chaos. The ground is littered with the bodies of defeated demons, showcasing the overwhelming power of Jin-Woo's army. Jin-Woo assesses the situation, reflecting on the increase in his intelligence stat. This growth has widened the gap between the number of shadows he can extract and the number he can preserve. If he could extract these demons, his army would be immense by now. It's a missed opportunity, but one he must work around. Realizing the need for efficiency, Jin-Woo decides that having all his soldiers follow him is impractical. From this point on, he must operate with greater precision. He formulates a plan to split his forces into 6 distinct groups: Team Tusk, Team Igris, Team Iron, Team Tank, High Orcs Team A, and High Orcs Team B. Jin-Woo issues his commands with clarity and authority. Each team has 2 tasks: to split up and defeat every enemy they encounter, and to report back to him when they find the entry permit for the next floor. With their orders given, Jin-Woo disperses his shadow army. The soldiers dash away, executing his commands with unwavering loyalty and precision. Jin-Woo stands amidst the remnants of the battle, contemplating his next move. He resolves to forego collecting any items in the dungeon, aside from the essential entry permits. His main priority is to reach the top floor as quickly as possible. As he strategizes, he notices that despite having just dispersed his soldiers, he is already accumulating a substantial number of experience points. This newfound efficiency is a welcome change, as it means he no longer has to waste time running around. Jin-Woo appreciates the convenience of his shadow soldiers' independence. As long as they remain intact, he doesn't need to expend any of his mana to support them. However, he acknowledges a potential challenge. His mages and infantrymen may struggle since the demons on this floor are high-ranking and formidable opponents. To mitigate this, Jin-Woo plans to use potions to continuously recharge his mana, ensuring that his soldiers can sustain their efforts and maintain their strength. This foresight and preparation are crucial for navigating the increasingly difficult challenges of the dungeon. A few days later, Jin-Woo observes the progress of his shadow soldiers. One notification catches his attention: Shadow Beast level 24, rank Elite. He realizes that Tank has leveled up significantly, gaining 10 levels since he last checked. Jin-Woo has also leveled up, but the difference in progress is much more drastic for his shadow soldiers. Hunting in groups has proven to be incredibly efficient. With 20 more floors to go, he is making rapid progress. Jin-Woo has reached the 80th floor much faster than he anticipated. They have been on this floor for 2 days now, but the entry permit has yet to appear. This indicates that stronger demons are likely lurking somewhere. As he ponders this, he feels his mana being drained at an alarming rate. Someone is relentlessly destroying his shadows, and his soldiers can't regenerate quickly enough. Jin-Woo deduces that a fierce battle is happening nearby, likely involving Iron's group. The realization that there is a demon stronger than Iron on this floor alarms him. Left with no other choice, Jin-Woo decides to call back his shadows, understanding that he must regroup and reassess the situation to overcome this powerful adversary. The next day, Jin-Woo reflects on the previous events. He had to withdraw his troops due to relentless attacks. Teams B and Igris's group suffered significant losses, indicating the formidable strength of the demons on this floor. However, something about the attack seems off. Tusk's team was positioned right next to Igris's, yet the demons bypassed them and targeted the High Orcs in Team A instead. Jin-Woo speculates that the demons might have skipped over Tusk because they weren't strong enough to defeat him. This observation leads Jin-Woo to a critical realization. The demons are picking and choosing their battles, targeting opponents they believe they can defeat. This means the demons are intelligent enough to identify their opponent's weaknesses. They deliberately attack the High Orcs in Team B, suggesting that their next target is likely his current location. Jin-Woo braces himself, knowing that the demon's next destination is where he stands. From the distance, a group of demons becomes visible, advancing steadily toward him. Jin-Woo prepares for the imminent confrontation, ready to face these cunning adversaries. A hush fell over the battlefield as a trio of imposing figures emerged from the shadows. Mounted on demonic steeds, they rode forth like a storm. Leading the charge was a demon noble. Behind him, 3 demon knights in their crimson armor followed in formation. The battle erupted with savage intensity. Tank, the colossal shadow soldier, roared a challenge, charging headfirst into the fray. A demon knight met his charge with equal ferocity, leaping into the air to deliver a devastating blow. With a swift and merciless strike, the knight cleaved Tank in 2, his formidable opponent reduced to lifeless fragments. Jin-Woo watched the carnage unfold with a mix of shock and grim determination. So this is why my soldiers struggled to regenerate, he muttered, the implications of the situation sinking in. The demon knights, with their superior speed and strength, were decimating his army at an alarming rate. Another demon knight joined the fray, its target a different shadow soldier. The creature met the same fate as Tank, its body bisected in a brutal display of power. It seems my shadow beasts are outmatched, Jin-Woo concluded, his voice laced with grim resolve. The tide of battle was turning against him, and he knew drastic measures were needed. The demon knight turned its gaze upon Jin-Woo. A surge of adrenaline propelled the knight forward. its spear aimed at Jin-Woo's heart. With a blur of motion that defied the limitations of human perception, he effortlessly dodged the incoming spear. The attack, fueled by the knight's momentum, ripped past him. The counterattack was swift and devastating. Jin-Woo unleashed a powerful punch imbued with raw magical energy. The blow connected squarely with the knight's face, the force of the impact shattering its helmet and sending it sprawling across the ground. A notification confirmed the knight's demise. The remaining two knights, witnessing the fate of their comrade, charged towards Jin-Woo with renewed ferocity. Jin-Woo, his senses heightened, anticipated their movements. In a blur of speed, he vanished from their sight, reappearing behind them in an instant. With lightning-fast strikes, his dagger found its mark, severing their bodies in two. Two more notifications confirmed their demise. The demon noble, its composure shattered by the swift and brutal demise of its companions, stared at Jin-Woo in disbelief. Fear, an emotion rarely associated with such creatures, flickered in its eyes. Jin-Woo, his aura intensifying, returned the gaze, a cold smirk playing on his lips. "I've always wondered if monsters could experience fear," he mused aloud, his voice carrying a chilling undertone. "Looks like I've found my answer." The battle ensued between the demon noble and Jin-Woo. The demon noble, moving with the speed of light, stabbed at Jin-Woo with his sword. His hand movements were so fast they appeared as a blur. Jin-Woo, trying to dodge the attacks, moved back quickly to avoid the deadly strikes. Despite Jin-Woo's agility, the demon noble's speed was overwhelming. Each thrust of the noble's sword came closer and closer to landing a hit. Jin-Woo's eyes tracked the blur of the sword, his mind racing to anticipate the next move. He ducked and weaved, narrowly avoiding the blade as it sliced through the air around him. Jin-Woo's mind raced as he analyzed the situation. My forehead, my neck, and then my heart. It's targeting all my vital points. Jin-Woo recalled the demon hierarchy he had learned. The tier levels are divided into ranks based on power. At the bottom were the lowly D-rank demons, gradually ascending through C, B, and A ranks. Above them were the elite A+ rank demon lords and knights, followed by the formidable S rank nobles and intermediary bosses. The battle raged on, a deadly dance of steel and shadow. With a swift movement, Jin-Woo sidestepped the demon noble's lunge and retaliated with a precise dagger strike. The blade bit deep, cleaving the noble's sword in two. Capitalizing on his advantage, Jin-Woo surged forward and clamped his hand around the demon's head. Before the creature could recover, Jin-Woo gripped his dagger tightly, preparing to deliver the final fatal blow. But just as the dagger was about to find its mark, the demon noble let out a guttural scream. "I surrender." It roared, its voice filled with disbelief and fear. Jin-Woo felt a peculiar sense of familiarity as he encountered yet another beast capable of speaking the human language. This time the voice he heard was distinctly feminine. As the demon noble removed her helmet, Jin-Woo's suspicion was confirmed. It was indeed a woman. Her demeanor shifted quickly from confrontation to desperation. She explained that as the guardians of this place, they could not allow someone to decimate the demons without resistance. Jin-Woo's expression remained impassive. He reminded her of her attack on his soldiers and questioned how she could now plead for forgiveness. Her justification seemed self-serving to Jin-Woo, especially when she claimed the knights would be content as long as she was safe. Her human-like appearance made Jin-Woo hesitate. It felt almost wrong to strike her down. While Jin-Woo was lost in thought, pondering the situation, the demon noble saw an opportunity. She lunged at him with a broken sword, putting all her strength into what she hoped would be a decisive strike. However, Jin-Woo's shadow soldiers were ever vigilant. Tusk, one of his most trusted shadows, swiftly cast Hymn of Protection, erecting a magical barrier that deflected the dagger effortlessly. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed as he questioned the demon noble's rash actions. She, realizing the futility of her attempt, collapsed to her knees. Desperation filled her voice as she begged for her life, offering anything in return for his mercy. Jin-Woo was both amused and annoyed by her audacity. He considered her offer and asked if she could provide him with an entry permit. Tusk then used his skill, levitation, causing the demon noble to float in mid-air. Fear was etched across her face as she floated helplessly. She revealed that her clan possessed an entry permit and promised to give it to Jin-Woo if he spared her and took her to them. Jin-Woo realized that the demons had been safeguarding the permit, which explained why he hadn't found it yet. The demon noble, sensing an opportunity, offered to guide Jin-Woo to other entry permits in exchange for her and her clan's safety. Jin-Woo found the offer tempting but questioned her trustworthiness. He activated his skill, Bloodlust, to gauge her honesty. The sheer terror in her eyes convinced him of her sincerity. She swore she wasn't lying. Jin-Woo agreed to her terms on the condition that she could retrieve the entry permit for him. He promised to leave quietly once he had what he needed. With Tusk deactivating his levitation skill, the demon noble was lowered back to the ground. She expressed her gratitude profusely. Jin-Woo then asked about her identity, seeking more specific information. She introduced herself as Essel, the eldest daughter of the Radiru clan. However, Jin-Woo interrupted, indicating that her introduction wasn't the information he was looking for. He pondered how to elicit the answers he needed from a demon. Jin-Woo asked if she ever heard a voice inside her head, telling her to kill humans. Essel seemed confused, and denied hearing such a voice, but she admitted to hearing voices that instructed her to protect the place she occupied. Jin-Woo considered this significant. It appeared these monsters were different from magic beasts, whose sole purpose was to kill humans. Instead, these demons were tasked with protecting the dungeon. Jin-Woo mused that to these monsters, he might appear as a threat similar to a magic beast. Curious about the origins of these demons, Jin-Woo inquired how long Essel had been hearing these protective voices. She responded that it had been since they woke up in the castle. Jin-Woo found this clue intriguing. He asked Essel where they lived before waking up in the castle. Essel revealed they came from the demon realm, and one day found themselves in the castle without explanation. Jin-Woo pressed further, asking what they were doing in the demon realm before their sudden relocation. Essel's answer was straightforward. They were preparing for war. Jin-Woo was intrigued by the mention of war. He pondered the implications as Essel explained that they were preparing for a massive conflict against a powerful enemy, one so formidable that it required the united forces of the entire demon race. However, she abruptly stopped, stating she had already said more than she was allowed. Suddenly, she began repeating herself, uttering the same phrases over and over. Jin-Woo recognized this phenomenon. It mirrored what happened when he questioned Baruka. The system forcibly terminated the conversation to prevent further disclosure. He realized that his conversation with Essel contained valuable clues. The pattern of leveling up, instance dungeons, quests, missions, rewards, penalties, and job changes all pointed towards a game-like environment. Jin-Woo theorized that the monsters, including Essel, were just another element within this complex system. As Jin-Woo pressed for more details about the powerful enemies the demons were preparing to fight, Essel began glitching and eventually fainted. Jin-Woo observed the system's strong reaction to his line of questioning. He concluded that the system possessed otherworldly powers, and its influence extended beyond mere gameplay mechanics. This realization led Jin-Woo to a crucial insight. The enemies the demons were preparing to battle might hold the key to understanding the true nature of the system and its impact on the world. The mysterious forces at play and the possibility of a larger threat fueled his determination to uncover the truth. Meanwhile, chaos erupted on the coast of Japan as living ants invaded a residential town. The sheer terror in the eyes of the residents was palpable. The ants, moving with deadly precision, began a massacre, killing every living being in their path. Screams echoed through the town as the ants used their wings as lethal weapons, slashing and maiming everyone in their way. Blood spattered everywhere, creating a gruesome scene of horror and despair. The town was transformed into a slaughterhouse. Streets, once filled with the sounds of life, echoed with the screams of the terrified. The ants' path was marked by a trail of crimson, a grim witness to its insatiable appetite for destruction. The townspeople, defenseless against this monstrous foe, fell like wheat before a scythe. Hunters and healers rushed to the scene, their arrival too late to prevent the initial onslaught. The ant, with a cunning intelligence, had targeted the healers first, neutralizing the town's ability to heal its wounded. One of the hunters, trying to make sense of the situation, "What the hell is that thing? It went straight for our healers, targeting our weakest E-rank hunters first. After decreasing our numbers, it got rid of our healers to weaken our forces. It knows it'll be at a disadvantage the longer this battle drags out. Is it a beast with intelligence?" As the chaos reached its crescendo, the ant ascended into the air, its wings outstretched, casting a menacing shadow over the devastated town. Its red eyes, glowing with an unnatural intensity, seemed to revel in the carnage it had wrought. A nearby car burned with a black box recording its destruction, capturing the horror and brutality of the attack. The ant's presence was a harbinger of more terror to come, a living nightmare that had descended upon the once peaceful town. The news of the ant invasion in Japan reached the Hunter Association, where Jim-Chul presented the footage of the destruction to the other members. The black box recording was the only evidence they had of the mutant ant. Jim-Chul explained that the ant, which had first been discovered on a small island, had traversed to the mainland, causing significant casualties before being exterminated by the hunters who responded to the emergency call. The battle had resulted in the deaths of 4 E-rank hunters, 1 D-rank healer, and 1 C-rank leader. The decisive factor in the ants' defeat was an A-rank hunter who joined midway through the battle. A member of the association expressed concern, summarizing that it would take at least one A-rank hunter to take down a single mutant ant. Jim Chol added that the ant had caused 294 civilian casualties and required the deployment of 108 hunters. Despite the seemingly excessive number of hunters, the Japanese Hunters Association believed their response was reasonable, considering the ants' ability to sense danger and fly away. He highlighted Japan's well-organized hunter network and pondered the potential devastation if the ants had reached mainland Korea. Go Gun-hee, the chairman of the Korean Hunter Association, noted that South Korea, like Japan, had many islands but lacked the manpower to monitor them all. He expressed concern over the ants' capability to fly long distances, potentially reaching coastal provinces and major cities. Members whispered among themselves about possible international aid, mentioning countries like China, Russia, and the United States. Though previous experiences made them doubtful of such support, Jim Chol then revealed to Go Gun-hee that they had been secretly contacted by Hwang Dong-soo of the Scavenger Guild, who intended to participate in the upcoming Jeju Island raid. This news stunned Go Gun-hee, who recognized that Hwang's target was likely Sung Ji-nu. Jim Chol explained that he had requested to deny Hwang's entry into South Korea, citing a conflict during the Red Gate incident as an excuse. However, Hwang was not the only hunter who had contacted them. Jim Chol then led Go Gun-hee to introduce another individual, a national-level hunter, whose identity remained shrouded in secrecy. Back in the castle, Esil slowly came back to her senses. She woke up with her eyes wide open, feeling disoriented and confused. She wondered when she had fallen asleep. Esil began to notice the bodies of fallen demons piled up around her. Ji-nu had single-handedly killed them while she was unconscious. He explained that these demons had tried to attack her while she was out. Esil was shocked and asked if Ji-nu had protected her during this time. When he confirmed, she thanked him, realizing that demons without intelligence did not recognize demons with intelligence as one of their own. Ji-nu then inquired about the time it would take to reach the location of the entry permit. Esil, now fully aware and determined, prepared to guide him. Esil, the enigmatic guide, leads Ji-nu deeper into this infernal realm. In the heart of a desolate, fiery landscape, a lone castle stands tall and imposing. As they walk deeper into the heart of the structure, Ji-nu stood inside and couldn't help but think to himself, a demon's castle inside a demon's castle? Is this even possible? Esil approached a demon knight standing guard. She demanded to know the whereabouts of her father, the clan leader. The knight, with a voice filled with reverence, informed her that her father was in the throne room. Noticing Ji-nu, the knight inquired about his identity. Esil, maintaining an authoritative tone, declared Ji-nu as a very important guest, instructing the knight to show respect. They proceeded to the throne room, a grand and imposing chamber where the clan leader sat in a regal manner. Ji-nu assessed the room, realizing this would have been the arena for a battle had he chosen a more confrontational approach. The clan leader sat upon his throne, his eyes widening in shock at the sight before him. He questioned the identity of the man beside her and the nature of his visit. Esil introduced Ji-nu as her guest, but the clan leader, with his sharp senses, noted the presence of an unseen army of shadow soldiers accompanying Ji-nu. The tension in the room escalated as demon knights surrounded Ji-nu, their swords drawn in a show of defensive aggression. The clan leader, struggling to maintain composure, chastised Ji-nu for bringing soldiers into their home. Ji-nu calmly explained that he had promised Esil he would leave peacefully if she handed him the entry permit. Observing the situation closely, the clan leader recognized Ji-nu as the relentless force responsible for the decimation of demons throughout the castle. The realization dawned on him that despite their noble status, the Radiru clan was ranked 20th, making them one of the weakest clans. Aware of the fact that he was able to defeat Vulcan and Matthias, the clan leader acknowledged their inability to withstand such a formidable adversary. Desperation evident, the clan leader inquired if the entry permit was all Ji-nu desired. Ji-nu clarified that he had an additional request. He expressed the need to borrow Esil for a time, explaining that she knew the locations of all the entry permits to the upper floors, and he required her guidance to locate them. The room fell silent, the gravity of Ji-nu's request hanging in the air. Later that day, Jin-Woo and Essel seated at a grand dining table within the heart of the Demon Castle. The clan leader occupied the head of the table, his gaze fixed on Jin-Woo with a mixture of wariness and grudging respect. The clan leader wanted to know if all Jin-Woo desired was an entry permit and a guide. Jin-Woo observed that the Demon King had misunderstood his intentions when he had asked to borrow Essel. The clan leader was silently grappling with his pride, finding it painful to negotiate with a human. If he had known earlier that Jin-Woo was the master of all those dark soldiers, he would never have engaged in battle with him. The clan leader, despite being a formidable monster, was worried for his daughter's safety. Jin-Woo reassured him that Essel would not be put in danger, and the clan leader reluctantly agreed. With that, Jin-Woo finally got his hands on the entry permit. As he read it, he realized that he would need to obtain similar permits from each of the demon clans as he moved up to the upper floors. Turning to Essel, he inquired if they could leave immediately. Essel, slightly amused by his urgency, confirmed that they could. With their next steps planned, they prepared to continue their journey through the castle. A sudden notification illuminated Jin-Woo's vision. A demon noble had extended an invitation to join a party. Intrigued, Jin-Woo delved deeper into the system's explanation. The party system allowed members to collectively access higher floors using a divination circle. Moreover, experience points earned could be distributed among members based on their contributions. The prospect of sharing his rapidly growing experience pool was enticing, but Jin-Woo realized the potential for exploitation. Jin-Woo then turned to Essel and made it clear that if they encountered any battles, she should not join the fight. He would handle everything on his own. Essel agreed without hesitation. Jin-Woo asked her if she would be alright without her horse, to which Essel explained that only party members were allowed to move to other floors, so she couldn't bring her horse along. Essel, seemingly unfazed by Jin-Woo's resolve, removed a bag from her back, opened it to reveal liquor that the chief of the Garsh clan liked. Her father had prepared gifts for each of the clans. Jin-Woo was curious about the reason behind this, and Essel explained that these gifts would make negotiations easier with the other clans. Despite the common hierarchical disputes among nobles in the demon realm, she assured Jin-Woo that the Garsh clan was at least reasonable. Reaching the Garsh clan's territory, Jin-Woo asked Essel to wait as he proceeded alone. His shadows followed him closely as he marched forward, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Within the confines of the Hunter Association, a tense dialogue unfolded between Go-Gun-hee and Thomas Andre, a formidable national-level hunter. Thomas was seeking information about South Korea's 10th S-rank hunter, Sung Jin-Woo, and was skeptical of Go-Gun-hee's inability to provide his whereabouts. Go-Gun-hee explained that Sung Jin-Woo was elusive, making it difficult for their surveillance team to track him. Thomas was doubtful and wondered how he could trust the information given. Go-Gun-hee assured him that the South Korean Hunters Association would not lie to a national-level hunter. The conversation took an unexpected turn as Thomas brought up the recent actions of Hwang Dong-soo. Thomas mentioned that his subordinate, Hwang Dong-soo, had caused some trouble in Korea. Go-Gun-hee acknowledged this, noting that they had limited authority over an S-rank hunter. Go-Gun-hee observed that Thomas referred to Hwang Dong-soo as if he were an American hunter now, implying a shift in allegiance. Thomas revealed that he also wanted to request that the South Korean Hunters Association deny Hwang Dong-soo's entry into the country, a decision they had already made. After shaking hands, Thomas indicated there was little left to discuss, and mentioned he would reach out if needed in the future. Go-Gun-hee couldn't help but notice the imposing presence of Thomas. Feeling dwarfed by the national-level hunter, Thomas commented on the chaos in Korea due to the events in Jeju, and hinted that his visit might have raised false hopes. He expressed regret that he couldn't assist with the Jeju raid due to his busy schedule, but left open the possibility if funds were available to hire someone of his caliber. As Thomas prepared to leave, Jim Chul, a member of the association, offered for a hunter from the surveillance team to accompany him, which Thomas accepted. He also emphasized the need for confidentiality regarding their discussion. Once Thomas departed, Go-Gun-hee sighed, reflecting on the encounter with a national-level hunter. Jim Chul reassured him that there was no need to worry, as Japan had agreed to collaborate with them. Just a few minutes later, flames and shrieks erupted from the Garsh clan castle. Chaos and destruction were everywhere. A notification popped up indicating that the demon knights had been defeated. Their bodies were piled up, a testament to the fierce battle that had taken place. Another notification followed, stating that a demon noble had been defeated. The lifeless body of the noble lay on the ground, and Jin-Woo leveled up to 87. Jin-Woo realized he was gaining a lot more experience points since his opponents were of higher levels. Additionally, his shadow soldiers were leveling up too. Igris had reached level max and was now ranked as a knight. Another notification informed Jin-Woo that Igris had reached the required level for advancement and could move to the next rank if the monarch allowed it. The same applied to Shadow Beast, who also reached level max and held the rank of elite. Jin-Woo observed that his shadow soldiers could advance to the next rank once they reached a certain level. Notifications popped up requesting permission for Igris and Shadow Beast to advance to the next level. Jin-Woo accepted. A tempestuous transformation ensued. Dark energy swirled around Igris and Shadow Beast, sculpting their forms anew. The shadows writhed and contorted, coalescing into a maelstrom of darkness that seemed to consume the two soldiers. As the storm subsided, two formidable beings emerged. Bathed in an ethereal glow, Igris had ascended to the rank of elite knight, a power level comparable to an S-rank hunter. Shadow Beast, now christened Tank, had evolved into a knight-rank shadow soldier, possessing the strength of a top-tier A-rank hunter. The implications of this newfound power were staggering. Jin-Woo had not merely defeated a demon noble, he had forged an army capable of challenging even the most formidable foes. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy watching!